Good morning and welcome to the discussion. Today, we will be taking a closer look at the tragedy unfolding across our nearby country, Sudan. For more than 2 years now, there's been a huge conflict between the Sudan Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Group. Now, it's getting even worse because cities turned to rubble, thousands killed in El-Fasher, and millions are fled from their homes. So tonight, we'll ask, what are the background causes? The war itself, the El-Fasher Massacre, humanitarian crisis, and the regional and global implications, as well as peace, future, and solutions. I am Makena Brandon, and with me is George Ouma, the founder of Speak Lead Africa. Together, we will unfold the root cause of these conflicts, human costs, and what Africa and the world must do. Stay with us. This is Sudan in Flames, the El-Fasher Massacre, and the collapse of a nation. Welcome so much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Kindly give us a brief introduction of yourself.
Yeah, my name's George Ouma. I'm the founder of Speak Lead Africa.
Okay.
I'm delighted to be here as we delve into this fundamental and requisite question concerning the African continent. It's indeed a blessing, or rather, I'm that one who is very much hesitant calling it a blessing. But sir, it's just a point we have to discuss. We have to talk about this.
Sure, we have. We have seen how Sudan is right now.
True.
It's in a critical state.
Absolutely.
So kindly give us what caused the war. Give us a background view of what caused the war.
Okay, the question behind Sudan war, it's not a political question. It's a human question. It's a human question because we are talking of 12 million displaced. We are talking of millions or tens of thousands killed. We are talking of genocide, rape. It's as fatal just as it is.
Yes.
But you know, Sudan was in statistics, if you do the averaging and all those, so Sudan is among the richest nations on earth. It's the fourth leading producer, or maybe third in terms of in the production of gold. So it's rich, endowed with different mineral resources. You know, so we cannot talk about the cause of Sudan if we've not delved into the historical context. So just allow me for a moment to turn back into history.
Yes, please.
For the purposes of contextualization and all those.
Yes, please.
So Sudan has a history of coups, withdrawing off of the governments and through coups and military attempts and all those. So since 1963, when Sudan gained its independence, since every leader who has been in power since Sudan attained independence has withdrawn through a coup, you know. So it is just a system. It's just a system that has been evolving with time, with the same acts of coup and all those stuff that has culminated into these incidents. So coming to the two generals who are causing chaos and killing people, displacing millions and listening to no one, just for political ascendance. The two generals have led Sudan into a ferment, a cauldron of conspiracy. What I call a press agitation of where everyone is debating for the ascendance to power, you know. So Sudan, how do these two find themselves in a position to fight for Sudan? The two were the commanders of the one for the RSF, the Fatah, and then the other one for SAF, the Sudanese Armed Forces. These were two forces that were protecting the former Sudan leader, Mr. Omar Bashir. You know, so the moment the public raised their concerns and then they were agitated concerning the ruling of Bashir and all his policies, the two who are commanders in chief of the most armed forces decided to back the public. So they backed the public and they withdrew and removed Bashir out of power. So they went into an argument of how they're going to share the power. And they even scripted something down, contracted themselves how they're going to share the power. So the leader of SAF, the Burhan, found himself being now the overall leader. And in that context, now the leader of the random rapid forces. Mm-hmm. This guy now, I literally don't know if he was very happy because following the incidents, he might not have been very happy with the actions, with him being the deputy of the guy with whom they planned a coup. Maybe he ought to have thought of him being now the man on top of it. So, but now there's this big debate on bringing these two armed forces into one, mm-hmm. so that this country is ran.
Yeah.
Maybe now the leader of rapid support forces mm-hmm. is unwilling to inculcate the rapid support forces into the Sudanese Armed Forces. But again, also my perspective tools also cautions me, admonishes me of what is his intention. But again, also now the overall leader of Sudan now, he wants this guy to inculcate the RAF into SAF. Why? You know?
The question is why.
These two guys, since honestly speaking, they have ill will. They are self-centered, and that's why Sudanese people are going through hell right now.
So could have the war been prevented?
The war could have been prevented if these two guys could have had the goodwill, the good political will. You know, these are guys who are self-centered. These are guys who want to run the mineral mines. These are guys who want to run. These are guys who want to be in charge. They don't want to care. They don't want to know who dies, who does what.
Okay.
They want to get in charge. So in a manner, if there could be what I call political goodwill, perhaps maybe the war could have been prevented. Okay. I'm just saying perhaps, maybe.
Let me ask, because you've told me that you have said that Sudan has minerals, right? Does the foreign influence have? Does foreign countries or the foreign influence do they take a role? Have they played a role in this war?
Absolutely. You know, we are talking of Sudan being amongst the leading producer of gold.
Yes.
We are talking of Sudan having the most one of the best arable lands for agriculture. We are talking of Sudan of having different depots of oil. This is a rich nation. And but just for context, Africa remains amongst the richest continents, the richest continent. For example, and then Africans, we ourselves, we've allowed the outside forces to have command on our land and on our resources.
Yes.
We've allowed them to draw lines to make us fight each other. For example, the issue with DR Congo, you know, DR Congo is the richest country, potentially the richest country in the world, producing amongst the most valuable resources. So given that significant mineral, gold, of course outside powers have interest in Sudan, and they are going to make sure, you know, the only way they can thrive is by making sure that there are conflict and there's no peace. So Sudan are focused on fighting themselves while they themselves smuggle gold. So UAE, without fearing the United Arab Emirates, is directly and without any form of apology participating in the chaos in Sudan.
So it's involved.
It's involved. The United States itself.
So that's the examples of the foreign influence
that are
the power
directly head on, making sure that Sudan is not in peace. Have you ever asked yourself where does the United Arab Emirates get its tools and its weaponry? The United Emirates imports its tools from the United States. The United States, the very, very people who have been claiming as the founders and the fathers of democracy, are now supplying weapons to Africa, to Sudan, through Chad, for Sudanese to fight themselves, so that they find a conducive environment for them to do their fishy smuggling of gold, and without caring how many are dying, how many are being displaced, how many families are going through chaos. They don't care, yet they praise democracy with the most beautiful words ever. Turkey is also one of them, you know.
Yes.
And then, you know, I wonder where are we Africans? Where are we? Why are we watching this like we cannot do anything? And I'm reliably informed that even now all those supports are coming through Chad to Sudan, to make sure that Sudan destroys itself to ashes. That's unacceptable, Brandon.
Let me ask you, let's go off a bit. You have spoken of democracy. Let me ask you a question. Do you think democracy are just mere words? Is it reality? Do we have democracy?
We don't need democracy. Sorry to say this. I know how that sounds, but I think the Western countries have courted us with this need of democracy in the manner that now they exploit us in the quest of making us adapt democracy. It's only democracy when it's not working for them. But the moment it works for them, okay, they have used democracy as a tool to make sure that they are safe, you know? Why is it that the US has nothing to say about what's going on in Sudan?
Yes, the world is silent.
The world completely silent. But again, they want to make their wars, they want to make their Palestinian wars and Israel to be a world issue. In fact, in some extent, they have fought within themselves and then called it a world war. While we in our lands, we were very much peaceful, having eating our cassavas and doing nothing and having nothing to do with whatsoever they're calling the world war. They have seated on us at the disgrace of democracy. That's unacceptable.
Do you think like nations like the United States create wars to distract the world?
Absolutely. I have no doubt with that. The US is supplying the UAE with the weaponry, so that they find that they cause chaos in Sudan. And the US is on history. In fact, the most destruction that has happened in Africa is a direct influence. In fact, the US is directly influenced in those wars, and that, no doubt about that. That is just it.
So is the US involved in the Sudan war?
Absolutely, they are supplying the UAE the weaponry, and I have no fear of saying that. They are.
Okay.
Sure.
What are the major regions affected in this war currently in Sudan?
So the major reasons, the major regions that are affected are the regions that are in Cape or that are this. The major reasons are the regions that are most affected are the regions that are exposed to the RSF. The RSF is doing massive killing. The RSF. In fact, the RSF is killing at the expense of making the ruling armed forces look weak and incapable. So the regions like Darfur, Khartoum, they are the most.
Is it because they're strategic?
No, precisely because of the a lot of mineral resources and the natural resources they have. Because and now, you know, every armed force is trying to make sure that it's in control of the resources. You know, yeah, they have nothing other than political power and resource.
So between the Sudan armed forces and the rapid support forces, which is ruling Sudan currently?
The Sudan armed forces is ruling Sudan legitimately, but not the rapid The rapid
support forces.
The rapid support forces is now the one trying to create this impression of these guys are not adequate to this job. These guys cannot do this, you know. Yeah. So the ruling currently that's accepted worldwide is now the Sudan Armed Forces.
The Sudan Armed Forces.
Yes,
so, what is the life of the civilians under the RSF?
Under the RSF, the life of the civilian, it's on record. The RSF is conducting mass killing, genocide, rape. In fact, it's going on record as the world's most genocidal war ever that has ever happened. In fact, I'm calling upon the United Nations. In fact, I'm calling upon the African Union to come forward. They have been playing ostrich for a very long time. They are fiddling while Rome is burning. They have nothing to say. And recently they spoke and then appointed the old man Museveni to come and be and chair the mediation between the two generals. And I have a friend who was joking, saying, how can you appoint a hyena to conduct a mediation between a goat and a sheep? Who does that? No? Yeah, so yeah, the RSF need to be.
So is the RSF the planned group by the UAE and the United States?
Of course. Now the UAE, the RSF, it's on record. The RSF are the one that control the larger mines, the larger natural resources. So and then now the UAE is interested in those resources. So the only way to make sure that they are on hold of those resources is by funding the RSF. Now the RSF are being funded by the UAE to make sure that the war continues, so that they continue the smuggling.
And you can boldly say that.
Of course, I have
the United States and the UAE. They're the one financing the RSF,
including even Russia. Vladimir Putin, Mr. Putin, why are you doing this? Why is it that they are much more focused on making sure that they want chaos so that they smuggle? You know, they want to access the natural resources through not legitimate ways, you know. And the only way to do it, they don't want it to have, they don't want to have an arranged system where they cannot do the smuggling, you know. They want it to be in chaos so that you give them room to do their stuff without being recognized.
I have a question.
Yes, true.
You have also mentioned that Russia is involved.
Absolutely.
UAE is involved, Russia is involved, and United States is involved.
True.
But what in this, how we have seen in this world right now, the picture has been painted is that Russia and the United States are always painted like they're not in good terms. How comes now they're the one financing and supporting RSF?
What works. What currently they're involved in is not about their enmity here. And perhaps they are not being, and maybe they are not doing it in close association. Maybe everyone has its own interest, so everyone is going there independently. For example, the US is not going there directly; it's not getting involved directly. It's selling weapons to the United Arab Emirates, so that it supplies to the Sudanese, to the RSF. You know, so. In a sense, US is not getting involved directly because it doesn't want to taint itself, to taint its name, given its historical background of preaching democracy in the most possible good words it has ever invented. They don't want to involve themselves directly, you know. But now Russia, Turkey, the United Arab Emirates are unequivocal and irrevocable. They are supporting the RSF to make sure that there's no peace in Sudan, and that Sudanese don't have peace, as Sudanese enter in chaos and destroy our nation and destroy our continent. That's unacceptable.
Is China clean from this?
I don't have any information about China. I'll be lying.
Because we have seen always China is always involved in majority of the African countries. It's always interested in African countries.
But again, I like the interest China has in African countries.
Is it positive?
China, of course, they are coming for contracts. They're not coming to destroy. this is evident, you know. China is much more focused on the hardwares. They'll come and ask you for the contract to do you one railway here, one road there, you know. That's the interest they have. They are not on record. They're not on record on flaming or fanning the flames of war and conflict. They're not on record on that in that particular errand.
So is there currently a functioning government in Sudan?
Currently, Sudan it's in a state called a de facto system. A de facto system is a place where there's no functional government. The government institutions have ceased to function. There's absolutely nothing going on in terms of governance. So currently there's no functional Sudanese government. It's until the two generals will agree on a common ground, that's when we'll have a place to call governance. But currently the Sudanese people are at war. They are not happy. It is just not it. Yeah.
Tell us more about the El-Fasher Massacre that is currently ongoing.
The El-Fasher Massacre is the most unfortunate incident that has ever entered in the world's history. The most fatal genocide that has ever been in the world's history. Killing of the innocent people, bombing them, using drones, and the RSF are directly involved in this. They are doing this for to taint the SAF. The SAF's name, who are now the government, and the El-Fasher is the most unfortunate incident that has ever happened, and we are praying that maybe Sudan, the El-Fasher, may find justice.
Are this attack ethnic or political?
That's among the most asked question. In fact, it's asked whether this war is either proxy or a civil war. And I'm finding myself on a very delicate place to work of whether identifying it as a proxy war or a civil war. But again, I would suggest that maybe it's both. It's a proxy because of the direct involvement or indirect involvement of the outside powers, but it's also a civil war because they are fighting among themselves as well. They are not agreeing on who should take power. They have this. They are on disagreement politically. Yeah. So it's not an ethnic thing. It's, in terms of funding, it's not ethnic, but its structure somehow is giving it an ethnic approach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us, why El-Fasher though? Why El-Fasher? El-Fasher remains one of the richest city, and that's why everyone is interested in there. And that's why RSF will do anything possible to prevent its grasp on it. You know, so probably they are going to do everything to make sure that they remain with the grasp of the El-Fasher. Are there any previous evidences of other crimes in El-Fasher?
I'm not aware. I'm not aware of any, but maybe I'm not aware of any.
So you tell me that even the United Nations, they have not responded to this.
I do, Brandon. I have absolutely nothing with the United Nations. My urge and my disappointment is on the African Union. These toothless organs that are funded by African countries, by African people, to prevent us, or maybe to find for solutions on a trouble, they are as toothless as never before, and they are quiet as if nothing is happening. They are quiet in a sense that we are having trespass. I won't call them trespass by the other powers to our nation, to our continent, but they have nothing to say. In fact, in the future, I'm suggesting that maybe we have to reconsider this thing called the United Nations. Not even the United Nations. I'm not bothered with the United Nations because maybe it's run by the same powers that are funding the conflicts in Africa. I'm not bothered by them. I'm not disappointed by them. That's okay.
Your interest is the African Union.
I'm interested in the African Union. Why is this organ so quiet? What's not happening? You know? What I mean, can someone explain to us how can we fund a union using the African tax money, and then this union is not beneficial to us? It's not responsive. You know? It only responds in a manner. I literally don't know how to explain it. The African Union has failed us. We expect the United Union to fail us, of course. We do. It's run by the superpowers, the same guys who are funding this. So we have no problem with that, but we have the problem with the African Union.
So African Union for a time has been dormant.
Absolutely. In fact, there's no time in history when African Union took a lead in any matter.
Okay.
There's no time in history. Normally they give it a post-mortem approach, where they come after everything has happened and now calmness is being restored. That's when they raise their voices, and they appear in conference with very good speeches, very eloquent speeches, and giving us hope. Which hope? We want action, man.
Tell me, what are the most urgent humanitarian needs that Sudan needs?
Sudan needs absolutely everything. We need mediation there. They need food. They are running out of food.
But who is to mediate?
That's the question. That's the big question. Because everyone wants power. And by the way, in anticipation, my instinct tells me maybe we are moving towards what happened in 2011, where again we had to partition Sudan, where we had to partition South Sudan from Sudan. Maybe perhaps we're going again to partition it, maybe for the third time. You know? Because there's no one to mediate, of course.
Yes.
If there's no one to mediate, then what? What are you going to do? Because they're not even ready to listen to the African nations.
Yes.
Yeah, you know. And I love President Ruto the other day when he took no side but wants peace in Sudan, and that's the lead African president must take, and that's the same contestation that they must take to the African Union Assembly. We need order in Africa, man. And that brings me again to Herbert Morrison. At some point there were contestation of whether to let Africa independent, and he said, giving an African power is like giving a child a latchkey, a bank account, and a shotgun.
Oh.
We were indeed given a shotgun, because since our 65 years of independence, we had no reason for we don't have any other reason for conflict apart from power sharing. You know, we are supposed to be having conflicts over ideas, thoughts, perspectives, but we've never had such. What's going on in Tanzania, what's going on in Kenya, what's going on in Uganda, all their trouble revolve around the ascendance to power and power sharing. You know, I mean we have a lot of trouble. Let's leave alone power and then other focus on other troubles. But the moment we are given independence, sorry to say this, we were given a latchkey, a bank account, a shotgun as kids.
Let's come to Kenya for a little while.
Okay.
Speaking of the leaders, has there ever been any leader? Now we have 5 presidents in Kenya who has had a sincere interest of the people at heart and implemented the interests of the people.
I was a time ago asked just a random question whether I'm a 1-term or a 2-term guy, and I said a lot changed within 2.5 years, and I haven't taken side yet, because maybe a lot might happen again in 2.5 years. You know, so maybe in answering your question, I'll try as much as possible, maybe not to include Mr. William Ruto in that particular bracket, because he hasn't reached a point where we can judge him whether he have our best interest or not. With answering that question, I beg not to involve Mr. Ruto, but others, those who are outside of the bracket, maybe they had their best interest. Maybe, yeah, I beg not to involve Ruto in that particular bracket in terms of comparison and scaling. But I just want to say that let's give him time and see if, because he changed a lot within 2.5 years. Maybe a lot might change within again 2.5 years. What will I tell you if after 2 years SHA will be functional? What will I tell you if after 2 years we'll be having the best new funding model ever? What will I tell you if lecturers will be paid and may perhaps paid better than any other time in the history of our nation? Yeah.
Back to Sudan.
Sure.
Sudan is in war.
True.
We as a country, Kenya, how does it affect us?
It's affecting us mostly as Pan-Africans instinctively. Pan-Africans, we always love to see a prosperous country and such. But again, diplomatically as well, it's also we also not on a dread of being dragged into this war. When your neighbor is on fire, think not twice. You might also be on flames. Yeah, so we literally don't know because there isn't state that the president has taken. The president has taken on cautioning them or admonishing them on whatever they are doing. Perhaps maybe they might be. We might find ourselves. We must be dreaded. And I want to ask Kenyans who are not dreaded on this. We have to be dreaded.
Sure.
Yeah, we have to be dreaded because there's no way our neighbor might be is on war and then we are peaceful. Our neighbors are dying and then we are peaceful, and then we're calling ourselves peaceful. We are not peaceful. Yeah.
Have we ever had any economical relations with Sudan?
Of course they are there. Being a nation of lots and lots of minerals and all those, we have a lot of economical relations and all stuff. So, in fact, a lot of Sudanese are living. I have a lot of friends that we went through the same high school who are Sudanese. Sudan's are our brothers. We cannot let them to go through this alone.
2011, Sudan, as you said, was divided into two: Sudan and South Sudan.
True.
South Sudan is the neighbor of Sudan. How is South Sudan responding to the crisis in Sudan?
If I was South Sudan, then I'll just maybe because it's just a 14 years old nation, probably the youngest nation on earth right now. So I haven't had any commentary, but and again there also not any allegation of them getting involved, because I know they have had a lot and maybe they're just quite on rebuilding their nation. So far they have not been quite loud on commenting on what's going on in Sudan.
What advice can you give South Sudan?
What advice I can give to South Sudan is that let them keep on their feet, do their stuff. They are the youngest nation and we expect a lot from them. So let us just them focus on whatever they are doing, and if possible, I'm saying if possible, if they can offer a solution, of which I doubt, if they can, let them do so.
So your advice is let them not involve themselves?
I absolutely don't want South Sudan to involve themselves. They have been through a lot. As an elder brother, I'll say you guys have been through a lot, and kindly focus on your life. You still have a lot of lives and a lot of people to change their lives, and you still have a lot of unhealed wounds that need to be covered. Please don't engage yourself in this. Go on, you man.
UAE is getting the machineries, the weapons from United States. Russia is again also interested with Sudan. Is there any chance for peace in Sudan, having one of the the most superpower countries involved in the firelighting of this chaos we see in Sudan today? Is there any chance? Does Sudan stand any chance for peace in any near future?
My perception tells me, admonishes me that my eyes can't see the offshore. I cannot see a point in which we'll maybe say Sudan is about to get peace. given the stand each general has taken, given the passion and the enthusiasm the Western, the overseas countries have in Sudan, all those factors brought together, I think Sudan has a long way to go, unfortunately speaking, and but maybe we can, as a community, as an international community, by our voices and our goodwill and our love for humanity, of course, now we can do something. But if we leave them to themselves and the overseas nations, it has nothing to do with peace anytime soon.
Let me ask you, if there was to be a talk between the two generals, what condition will they use for the peace talk to succeed? If there was to be a peace talk between the two generals,
if there were a peace talk and of course the need for ceasefire, I think given their both interest in power, the leader of SAF wants RSF inculcated in his system. The leader of RSF doesn't want anything close to inculcation of its armed forces to the SAF system. The only way maybe is to make sure that maybe they work independently. If we were to protect everyone's of them interest, maybe we can just allow them to work independently in their own. But again, that one will also be subjecting us to future wars, because maybe at some point they won't agree. They will not always agree on policy, of course, and then each one of them is well funded, and each one of them has enough mercenary to do all sorts of chaos they wish. So maybe the only peace talk point can be let them work independently, but work for a common purpose.
Sudan has youths.
True.
And civilians in general.
True.
What advice can you give
to the civilians of Sudan? I think they're overwhelmed, and I literally don't know if they listen to me, and of course they're overwhelmed, and they're not seeing anything close to future and peace. But I just want to tell them that maybe there's hope tomorrow.
Even youths?
Even to the youths. I know nothing's going on related to in terms of youth development and stuff, but maybe there's hope tomorrow.
So how can justice be achieved?
Justice can be achieved if you're going to have a functional, if you're going to have not a dump United Nation, not a dump African Union, but a union that speaks for its people. That's what I see how justice can be achieved.
And what lessons can we as African countries learn?
Let's take care of our nation. Let's sort to resolve our conflict peacefully, and I mean peacefully. Let's resolve our conflict peacefully, and let's not wait for the culmination of conflict, or let's not let them to culminate alone, and so that we are handling them when they are mountains. We can still handle them with the anthills.
Is there any long-term hope for Sudan?
Of course, there's a long-term hope, but not anytime soon. Not anytime soon. Sincerely speaking, not anytime soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is no long-term hope for Sudan?
I don't think.
As per the moment?
As per the moment.
Thank you so much, our listeners and viewers. This has been the discussion. Sudan in Flames, the El-Fasher Massacre and the collapse of a nation. With me was our guest, George Ouma, the founder of Speak Lead Africa. Till next time, goodbye. Thank you so much, sir.